Boy, howdy, folks. Welcome to another episode of Beer Thunder. I am Squishface, and we are once again back in the A10C because with the new update, America is finally not going to suffer. America has finally received a much needed upgrade and update to their Sim EC multi-role capabilities in the form of the GBU 39 small diameter glide bomb. Because previously America just really struggled at winning the game with their ground attacking abilities. Things like the F-16C were kind of subpar. Things like the F-15C, the F-15A, not very good at ground striking. Now we have the F-15E, the Strike Eagle, which can carry around like 24 of these glide bombs. The F-16C can carry 8 of them, and the A-10C can carry 24. And these things are really good at killing stationary AI ground targets. That is the thing that they kind of specialize in, and they're very good for that. And I'm glad that this has happened because now America will no longer suffer, because I think Gaijin must have detected that American win rates must have dipped down below like 90% in Sim EC because we had to rush out the F-15E and probably a state that's like not even finished because apparently it's a really goofy Mach 2.5 flight model that was on dev server just like made it to live server, and that's kind of what we got in top tier is kind of unplayable right now for pretty much everyone that doesn't want to play America, which is good. That's the way that things should be. That's the default state that I want the game to be. It's good for 2/3 of the player base and not good for everyone else. And just to put things into perspective here, to kind of like cap off our little introductory rant, we have all 3 versions of the Eagle that have been in like active service. Like the only one that they could add in the future is the F-15X, like the one that's like literally like brandy spanking new. We got all 3 versions of the Eagle before Germany got anything newer than an F4F. Like that is, to me, if you look at it in that perspective, it's insane. And it kind of makes it hard for me as a sim content creator to really recommend anyone grind out any tech tree right now that just isn't American, because if you play America, no matter what BR that you play, you have either the best plane or one of the best planes. And the A10C really isn't an exception. I like the A10C. I like doing PvE stuff. I like ground attacking. I know that PvE players do get kind of a bad rap because Sim in the past and Sim currently does get abused by people looking to like grind out tech trees as fast as possible. And yes, everyone says that Sim, the economy sucks, and the economy does suck if you play the game organically. But guess what? Most people don't play the game organically. Most of the games that are tracked in Sim are people fucking farming. Like, and if you look at like the most popular Sim content that's been published in the last year, there's like 2 videos that are just like a guide on how to use the AV-8B to go to an airfield, bomb the AA to like farm points, and then return to base and just maximize useful actions and abuse that part of the economy. The other one is like 300 and some odd thousand views, and it's like the same shit of like go out, get 600 points just doing an objective, and then go AFK on your runway for like the rest of your 15-minute timer and go out. So like that is what most people that are playing Sim are doing, some variation of farming. Like I think that's the ultimate conclusion. And you can look at StatShark and go look at everything else and kind of see like the average like player kills per flyout for like the average Sim player is 0.0 to 0.2. And the average win rate for most Sim players is well above half. Like it's actually like when you look at the stats and look at what's actually tracked, it's kind of like it's kind of disgusting. And it's one of the issues with like, oh, we need to buff the Sim economy and we need to buff like player versus player actions and punish player versus environment actions, because then people won't abuse it. But then you look at the stats, and then people also abuse PvP in Sim by farming their own like alternate bot accounts. Like I've seen guys get like over 100 and some odd kills per game because there's like a formation of like float planes that they just go in and they frag them. and they just keep doing that over and over again. Like it's stupid, and like the whole entire economy is like fucked. But speaking of fucked, we're gonna talk about how to use the most obsolete ground attacker in the world. The most this thing is not an aardvark. It blows because bad laser pig video. The Pierre spray. I don't know. No, in WarThunder, the A10C at its current BR is probably one of the best ground attackers for EC. In tank battles, it's probably a different option because glide bombs are really, really good because they have a really good glide ratio, and it means that you can basically obliterate every single stationary ground battle in a minute. Like 1 minute of like actually just kind of like hovering your cursor on stuff and clicking on it. And the A10C can carry up to 24 fire and forget glide bombs. Like you just put them on the target, you click the fire the button, and they go to the target, and it's fine. The downside to the glide bombs is they track stationary targets, or they have like a GPS coordinate, and they only go to the GPS coordinate. So if you're going to attack convoys in the A10, which is the thing that I did earlier, bring AGM-65s. The AGM-65s are still good. You can carry 6 of them. You can glitch the system by creating a loadout where you equip the AGM-65s first, and then on one of the wings you equip like an Apiquus rocket pod, and that will automatically populate the targeting pod on the other side, and it'll kind of get around the whole you can't carry 3 AGMs next to the targeting pod. You can kind of glitch that system, and that's been a thing since the plane was introduced. I've mentioned it before, I think, but now I'm mentioning it again because they still haven't patched it. I assumed it would be something they patched. They haven't patched it, so it still works. You could still carry 6 AGM-65s, then just take the rest for glide bombs, and that's probably the best overall loadout for completely obliterating ground battles. And that's really the thing that you should be doing with this plane. This is the thing that if you're gonna get in your like little mindset and LARP, that's what I do. That's what I enjoy doing when it exists. Now the problem is, because everyone else has glide bombs now, you're competing against AV-8B, night attacks, premium players, pretty much whenever a ground battle spawns. It's if someone gets there first, it gets obliterated, and then you have nothing to do, and you're just kind of like flying around doing PvP stuff and griefing people with 9Ms, which in 11.7 to 12.7 bracket, not really a big deal. In 11.7 down, it's still just as disgusting as it's always been, and rather unfortunate. But I mean, it is what it is. Like, Gaijin's not going to solve any of these problems. Like, look at the way that Gaijin has developed Sim. They have it. There's no development here. Like, we're shooting the same ground targets as basically like 2 years ago. They didn't really think about like the fact that like now everyone can just obliterate the ground battle in like 30 seconds, because like that's really all the effort it really takes, which is cool. I like it. I like it for the A10. I like it because it breaks the game, and it also opens up some really interesting possibilities on the back end, and we're gonna visit those on the back end of the video. Now, how do you make this thing work as a ground attacker in Sim? And I'm not going to go, it's not a 30-minute step-by-step guide video of like, here, this is the button you need to bind to drop your bombs. I'm going to assume that you have buttons bound to do like basic things like select a secondary weapon and drop the bombs. But on the other hand, I don't think that everyone realizes how much features they're missing with kind of like their default bindings, because Gaijin doesn't make it very obvious and doesn't make things very intuitive. And it means that everyone's like Sim controller setup, Sim HOTAS setup is always different and varied and whatnot like that. So there's a couple of things that I recommend that everyone do. Like, number one, by default, getting to your targeting pod view is your view change key, which for me is my V key on my keyboard. I've kept that the same, but when you switch to view, it ends up being like by default is way too sensitive, and there's no like targeting camera view. No, you have to go into your controls and you have to find gunner view. And what I do is I turn down gunner view sensitivity, and then I turn down gunner sensitivity while in zoom, even further, so when I zoom in, I can actually use my mini joystick on my control stick to like select target. So like it's more immersive that way. But also by default, it's on the mouse. And if you have some kind of janky system where you just fly straight and like move your cursor around and click with the mouse. That's probably actually faster for getting like all your air to ground, fire and forget munitions off faster. The other thing is find the button for sight mode in cockpit view. Put that on, because then you can switch between the air targets, the default, and the ground targets thing. Because the ground targets one is pretty accurate. And the ground targets, with the ground target belts, you can pretty much destroy tanks in one go. And even on things like the earlier A10, so the A10 late, the A model, the way that I approach like ground battles is like I'll use AGM 65s, try to take out all of the SPAA, and then just strafe the rest of the ground targets with like rockets and dumb munitions. The other thing for ground attacking with this thing is that I use the map and I zoom in on the map to like determine what targets are left, because basically the thing that you're really concerned about is the things that look like a castle. Like it's a flat thing with like two little things picking up. If you zoom in, you see castles. Those are SPAA. SPAA in the A10, if you get close, it yeets you out of the fucking sky. And anyone that's tried to ground attack a convoy and gotten too close and just been one shot by Saddam Hussein or fucking Lee Harvey Oswald on the top of an M113 kind of it knows this. The other thing to say is convoys suck. Like convoys like straight up suck. Like if you look at the previous clip, they're in the bottom of the screen. They're like phased through the terrain. And sometimes they just don't render in until you're directly on top of them, and then you just die. Like there's been times I've just flown over, like I'm like, the map says they're on the road. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm looking at the intersection on it. Like that's the intersection. It says they're here. Nope. Boop. Saddam Hussein. Brr, brr, and then you die, and the plane just kills itself. And that's it's not just true for the A10. That's true for kind of anything else. But with previously with the supersonic stuff, you could kind of throw your guided munitions a little bit further so that you weren't as reliant on the AGM 65s. Like previously, the only plane that was as kind of had like the disgusting potential that this thing does are things like F-16s, if they were able to carry like a boatload of JDAMs, and like the AV-8B, the night attack, was always like pretty good in kind of doing the same thing. But now the A-10 can do it, the night attack can do it, the F-15E can do the same thing that I'm doing right here. Everything that I'm doing here with the glide bombs is because of the glide bombs. The F-15E is just as good at wiping out a ground battle, and I got a timer going, but it takes 1 minute for me to basically click on every single target, and I'm doing this kind of slow. Like I haven't really refined like this. Like I could definitely like get like better with clicking on targets faster, but like in 1 minute, all these glide bombs are going to go out. They're going to go hit their targets, and I'm going to basically get 14 ground kills. The glide bombs don't always kill the tanks, and they don't always like hit perfectly, and sometimes you still get like the things like, oh, it hit like the track, and the track is made out of vibranium, and it doesn't happen. So a lot of times you don't get everything in one go, but you have 24 of the fucking things. You could click on every single target twice and like have 2 left over basically. So like there is no pressure. There's no pressure to worry about ground battles. Now with the other things, like the A10 is kind of like, I'm not gonna say like, oh, the A10's busted. It's at a BR right now, where it's okay at. The glide bombs though do open up some really interesting and exciting possibilities, and those interesting and exciting possibilities are very bad for the game, and also just by default the ability to wipe out ground battles and bleed tickets even faster than a pace that was previously thought possible means that blue side's gonna win. If you play red side, if you're playing down in the numbers against the team that's just bombing the shit out of everything, you're fucked. You are royally, truly, and terribly fucked. But it gets worse, because there isn't enough mid-map ground targets to go around to be entertained. But there is one place that will consistently spawn ground targets to attack, and that is right, that is your fucking airfield. And this is one of those methods that was popularized through YouTube, was like, go to the airfields, bomb the AA, and then like go back to base, and by the time you come back it'll be respawned, and you'll have like a constant cycle of like useful actions, and then nobody took it to the logical conclusion, because with the glide bombs, I have 24 of them. I have the ability to kill the airfield AA twice over with like room to spare, with room to miss. Now, the way that this actually works out is that you kill the AA, and it's not going to respawn for like 5 to 7 minutes. I don't know what the timer is, but for like 5 minutes, there is no AA. The airfield is completely undefended. And not only can I kill the AA, I've also got 12 glide bombs, so I can also go 1 for the AA, 1 for your runway threshold, 1 for the AA, 1 for the runway threshold, 1 for the AA, 1 for the runway threshold. And basically, anyone that spawns at this airfield at the wrong intervals is going to get hit by like a guided bomb like to the face. And that's exactly what happened in the first clip with the MiG-29 with Leonardo. Like, he came in, he's attacking me in the MiG-29, and I'm dropping bombs at his runway threshold in different intervals, and just seeing if it's even like possible, if it's like an actual kind of like viable strategy. And no, it's really not like a super useful strategy, but it's kind of funny because he comes in and I shoot him down, and then he respawns, and like 10 seconds after he starts his takeoff roll, he gets killed by a glide bomb that I dropped probably like 2 or 3 minutes beforehand. Like, I am playing like 16-dimensional chess here, and that's not good, because I could do this in the A-10, which means that planes like the F-15E, the Strike Eagle, which can carry a shit ton of AMRAAMs, go Mach 2.5 at 10,000 meters, is basically untouchable. It can do the same thing faster, quicker, better, stronger, and there's not jack shit you're going to do about it. And the math isn't really hard to math here. Most of the games, most of the EC maps only have 3 runways. Usually have 2 that are kind of grouped up together, and then 1 that's kind of off by itself. And that's it. Afghanistan, 3 runways. Vietnam, 3 runways. Sinai, 3 runways. Denmark is like the one that has like 5, but like 4 of them are always like clustered in one corner, and 1 might be off by itself. So it's really easy to do some real suppression of enemy air defense, and then just we're spawn killing. That's what we're doing. We're spawn killing, and we're gonna take their base. And I've done this a couple of times already. Like, I have probably 3 to 4 hours of footage where I go in, glide bomb all the AA, and then just camp the runway spawn, because this is the future is now, old man. Everyone could be Colonel 100 and seize their base, and there is not really kind of jack shit that you could really do about this at scale. Now, keep in mind, you can actually break the system even further, because if you destroy the repair tents, the AA will not respawn. So if you destroy like the right runway modules, or the correct modules, the AA is not going to respawn, and game's over. Like, we're just gonna fly around here, and as they respawn, I'm just gonna shoot them. And as I respawn, as I kind of like turn around, I just send like the remaining number of my glide bombs at the runway threshold, like not like all at once, like just in intervals. And it's gonna help, because the runway will spawn AI like CL-13s, and the CL-13s are going to get damaged by the glide bomb. So these planes that might be a threat to me are just gonna be like, they're just gonna be like stuck on the runway, and I'm just gonna like fly around, and we get the severe damage on the CL-13 Mark IV. So like the AI that would defend the runway in this kind of situation isn't really gonna do it. And here's the problem: there's no elegant solution to this. There's no easy way to solve this, because someone's gonna be in the comments like, well, this means we need S-400 and S-300 and 40 kilometers of AA protection, which means that basically anything that's not directly in the middle of the map is like an unflyable, non-playable no-go zone. And like, then we need seed. And then when you add seed, what's going to happen? Well, the team with more players and better seed pushes the AA back, and we end up in the same situation. So congratulations. The game's kind of fucked. Like, the game is good. The more that they add, the more feature creep that we get, the more fucked, and actually kind of it's enjoyable from the perspective that it's like really fucky, but it's fucked. That's the video. Enjoy your slop.